Hey everyone, Marco Briceno here with the Starr Group. Thank you, all of you, for joining. Today we have Tony and Charisse Giangreco from the MindRight team. They're going to be talking to us about the top 5 tips and tricks when buying and selling a house, especially right now as we go through COVID-19. I will be talking about how to become better insurance consumers as well as avoid claims to make sure that you guys are adequately covered should something happen. A little bit about me. As I mentioned, I'm Marco Briceno. I'm the personal risk manager here at the Starr Group. I oversee our department to make sure that the risks are designed correctly, so when there's a claim, there's adequate coverage. A lot of times people have the misconception that whatever company they have is the one that provides the coverage. Is actually the agent and how the risk is designed. That is going to tell the insurance company if the claim is paid out, how the claim will be paid out, and to what level of satisfaction it will be paid out. That way, regardless of whatever company you have, it is adequately designed and there are no surprises come claims time, right? So when we're talking about claims and understanding how to become better insurance consumers, we actually have a lot of power as consumers. So like the people that buy the insurance have a lot of power on what is in the policy, as well as what rates we're paying for those policies. Think of it as it's fairly similar. For example, when you're buying a house, the higher your insurance score, the better rate you get on your mortgage. Something very similar happens when it comes to your insurance now, where we are not looking at your credit score, we're looking at your insurance score. They're fairly similar. Usually a person that has a high credit score will also have a high insurance score. The reason why those people tend to have more favorable rates is insurance companies, as they're tightening their underwriting guidelines, as they're looking to write better and safer risks, they have identified that people that have a good insurance score or credit score, they are less likely to file small claims. Insurance companies tend to prefer to have one large claim than 20 little ones. So as you're going through looking at houses, as you're looking to get a pre-approval for your next home, start working with your mortgage officer to make sure that you're improving your credit score, as it will not only help your mortgage rate, but also your insurance rate as well. Also, something that we're seeing a lot in the industry is there's a lot more technology going into not only the auto, but also the homes to make them safer. Again, that allows you to avoid claims and lower your rates. On the auto, think about 5 years ago, what the typical auto looked like. It didn't have, a rear view camera. It didn't have that lane deviation. It didn't have that forward or backwards collision automatic braking. Those safety features allows you to be safer and avoid having those costly claim payouts for the insurance companies. Those are discounts that you automatically qualify if your car has those safety features. So make sure to let your insurance agent know. Sometimes it doesn't connect from your VIN number. Make sure that let them know so they can give you those discounts if you have that capability. On the home side, we're seeing a lot of times we're obviously aware of people having the ADTs, the spectrums, where you have a third party monitoring your house in case someone were to burglar your house or there's a fire. However, now in the home side, we're seeing a lot more connectivity, like Internet of Things through Alexa or your Google smart devices, where now you're getting push notifications on your phone, whether it's from burglary, again, fire, or even water detection. I know there's a huge uptick on camera systems where you can see who's approaching your house, what kind of person's going in. Is it someone that you know or a complete stranger? For example, I was actually at my sister's house this past weekend, and she's out of town right now, making sure that everything is up to par. There's nothing funny going on in her house. And she told me, like, hey, stay out of the refrigerator, don't drink my beer, kind of thing. I know that's kind of a funny situation, but it's great to know that you can, wherever you are in the world, you can keep track of what's going on in your house. So again, there are no costly claims in the long run. Same thing is when it comes to claims, not every claim is created equal. Not every claim, just because you have a claim, should be filed. A lot of times when you call your insurance carrier and you ask them, hey, should I file a claim or not, just for having a claim in general, even if there's a $0 payout, they mark your file. That can hurt you in the long run, as it says like, hey, this person thought about filing a claim. When we're looking at risks and when we're looking at potentially filing a claim, we actually have an in-house claims advocate that without filing a claim, she can forecast what the claim payout will be, what's the advantages or disadvantages of filing a claim in the next 5 years could look like. That way you and your family can make an informed decision. Does it make sense for us to file a claim today, or maybe absorb that claim and pay it out of your own pocket? That way, again, it's not hurting you in the long run. As well as, obviously, a lot of people are aware, you know, if you bundle your auto and your home together, you get discounts. That's great. A lot of companies offer that discount. However, a lot of people don't know that there is a preferred market or a preferred kinds of companies that they only sell insurance if they write everything. The reason they do that is they want to make sure that they are handling everything going on in the household. So when there's a claim satisfaction is better, coverage is better, and rates specifically is better for everyone in the household. So it's a lot more advantageous to take a look at those options as well. Companies that are able to write standalone autos or standalone homes, they do not have that advantage a lot of the time. So something to think about and ask your agent about. When we are looking about claims, a lot of times it involves youthful drivers. I was one of them. Before I was 19 years old, I had totaled 2 cars. I got a speeding ticket going 30 miles an hour over the speeding limit. A lot of times because we're inexperienced when we're that age, when we're 16 through 23 years of age. So something that you can do if you have a kid or a loved one that it falls in that age bracket is have conversations at home to set the house rules. I like to call it as like parent-teen driving agreement, as that way there are no surprises if there's any misbehavior, especially as kids are starting to take this new step in their life. There's a lot more independence. We want to make sure that they are staying safe. One of the things that a lot of parents like to include in there is holding the kids accountable to not only their good behavior, but also performance at school. The reason they do that is kids that have a 3.0 GPA or higher qualify for a very steep discount that can help the kids lower the rates on the auto side of things. They're less likely to have claims. And again, it's something that you can talk with your kid to get them from a lower GPA to where you would like them to see, and that way they're rewarded with that sense of freedom. Also, some of the things that a lot of people don't know about is a lot of insurance companies are helping families educate their kids on what good, safe driving behavior looks like. The reason they do that, they actually subsidize different classes because they know once the kids go through that coursework, they're a lot less likely to get into a speeding ticket that will obviously not only save money in your insurance, but also don't have to pay off that ticket. Also have less claims, and most importantly, avoid injury, which is, again, very critical. It's a good idea. They tend to be a couple of hours, and a lot of insurance companies actually help subsidize for that fee for the coursework. When we're looking at now claims, we're buying a house, as you take this new step in your life, there tend to be different kinds of claims that happen specifically in this side of the state, southeastern Wisconsin. In southeastern Wisconsin, the top 3 claims that we handle are wind and hail, fire, and water. When it comes to wind and hail, a lot of people don't know that in Wisconsin, we see on average about 250 hailstorms each year. That means that insurance companies are having to pay out a lot of money for those claims. So most policies that I see, especially from the large advertisers, they limit how the claim will be paid out. Usually for the first 15 years of age of the roof is paid out at full replacement value. However, a lot of times it comes to a surprise that after that 15 years of age, they're not replacing the roof. They're only paying after depreciation. What that means is, let's say your roof to get replaced is going to cost $10,000. However, your roof's already 15 years old, meaning that you only have about a 25% life expectancy left of that roof, given that the average roof in Wisconsin lasts about 20 years. So in that case, the insurance company will only pay you $2,500. You would have to pay out of your own pocket the difference, which is about $7,500. That's a large amount of money to essentially paying out without budgeting for it, because again, it's a claim. You were not expecting that. Another thing that we see a lot of times when it comes to hailstorms is what is the difference between cosmetic damage and structural damage. When there's a structural damage where the hail actually pierces and goes through the shingle, for example, where again, they're going to be replacing that shingle to make sure it's brand new. However, now you might have the same manufacturer, the same color, the same model. However, because of sun damage, they are not going to be the exact same. So make sure that when you're designing your coverage to have the insurance companies ahead of time design your risk to match everything, even if it's for cosmetic reasons. That's why at the Starr Group, we design our clients' policies to not only guarantee the replacement of the roof for at least 20 years, so you're not having to pay for that out of your own pocket for the life expectancy of the average roof, as well as replace the entire siding as roofs also might be partially damaged. When we're looking at water backup, or water damage in general, there tends to be 4 different kinds of water claims. One is, your broken pipes, your leaky pipes that might damage your walls. Those are covered under your standard homeowner policy. However, there tends to be 3 main exclusions when it comes to water. One of them is your sewer and water backup. That tends to be by far the main number of claims that we see in southeastern Wisconsin, primarily because our sewer system stinks, no pun intended. When we're looking at an average basement that is not finished, a pretty modest basement, just the cleanup alone is about $5,000. Then at the bare minimum, we need to replace hot water heater, furnace. That's easily another $5,000. If your basement's partially finished, or if you have a content in your basement, you want to increase that coverage even further. So you want to make sure that you have at least $10,000 if your basement's not finished. Again, if it's finished, you want to go higher. Another exclusion that we see is flood. A lot of times people think that flood is only for homes that are in a flood zone. That's actually not true. You can get a flood policy wherever you are. And actually, if you're not in a flood zone, it's very affordable to get one. Where flood comes in is where water comes through your foundation into your house. Or, for example, if you have a walkout basement and your backyard, for example, floods and now water is coming through the basement door, that is considered flood. That's not considered sewer or water backup. So that's where it will kick in. Another kind of claim that we see on a regular basis is, especially when there is a lot of rain, where now the ground around your house is saturated with water, that creates a huge amount of pressure on your basement walls. So when your basement walls collapse inwards, where now they're essentially your outside world is in your basement, that's called hydrostatic pressure. That's always excluded. You want to make sure that your policies are designed to cover that at 100%. So in case we need to tear down the house and rebuild it to replace that foundation, you have adequate coverage there. Now, when we talk about fires, most fires tend to happen driven by electrical issues. When you're buying a house, make sure to get an inspection. That will help you kind of figure out what the electrical system looks like. A lot of houses, especially in Milwaukee, they tend to be older, at least 50 years old. So make sure to take a look at the inspection to make sure that they are no double or triple tapping into the breakers. Make sure that the wiring is adequate or up to date and there's no any crumbling or expired insulation, to make sure that, again, the house is performing adequately. If you need someone, make sure to hire a professional electrician, not someone's brother-in-law. Make sure to hire a trusted electrician to make sure that they evaluate how the home is performing and utilizing electricity, Because again, think about even 20 years ago, how our lives have changed. We have a lot more appliances plugged into the wall. Those appliances are drawing a lot more electricity. You want to make sure that your house is performing effectively and efficiently from that electric pole. And then lastly, when we're looking at what we can do to avoid claims, especially when it comes to fire, one of the things that's really easy, I highly recommend everyone to do, is get your furnace and your AC unit serviced every year. Not only will that help you save money on your electric and gas bill, but also it will expand the longevity or the lifespan of those large appliances. Another thing that you can do is something that we never do. I know I usually never do it, is clean out the vents that connects your dryer to the outside world. There tends to be a lot of lint getting built up there. Again, that will not only make your dryer more efficient, but also avoid fires, as that lint is very, very flammable. And if you have any fireplaces or wood burning stoves, make sure to get them cleaned to avoid any soot from buildup and any potential fires from starting there. Any questions, please let me know. Shoot them in the comments section or shoot us an email. I want to make sure that we're a resource for you guys. Up next, we have Tony and Charisse Giangreco with the MindRight team. They're going to be talking to us about the top 5 tips and tricks on what you should know when buying and selling through this COVID-19 that we're going through.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Marco, for the intro. And as always, we're honored to be a part of the Starr group, aka MindStarr collaboration with you guys. So, and thanks again for that informative presentation. It was really great, and I'm definitely going to go home and clean out my lint from my dryer. So, hi everyone. We are Tony and Charisse Giangreco with the MindRight Realty Group of Keller Williams Realty. We are a family-owned and locally operated full-service real estate team out of southeastern Wisconsin. We have a very strong emphasis on mindset and building lifelong relationships, not only with our clients, but with our community as well. So before we dive into today's topic, I thought we'd spend a little bit of time just getting to know the team. So as I mentioned, we're Tony and Charisse Giangreco. Tony and I are both co-founders of the team. I am also the CEO and the director of Swag, and Tony is the director of sales and the listing specialist for the team. And next up, we have our 2 full-time buyer specialists, Katie Nankovich and Eddie Martin. Katie and Eddie actually work exclusively with buyers, and this is very important to know and understand just based on the current timing of our market. It's moving very fast, and it's extremely important to have a buyer specialist that can hold the current pace of the market when working with buyers, right? And they're working with multiple buyers, so that's very, very important. Next up on the team, we have Melissa and Ty Nowak. So Melissa is really the back-end coordination piece of this team. You can really just think of her as like the conductor of the orchestra. She's making sure that all of the moving pieces are coming together to make beautiful music and ultimately get our clients to that closing table on time. So she's really managing critical deadlines. She's coordinating closing and title. There's a lot that Melissa does, and that's just to name a couple of the things that she does in her role. And then you've got Ty, who is the infield piece of the coordination team. So he's really going to be on site for home inspections. Ty is going to be coordinating contractors, getting multiple estimates and evaluations for our clients. And he's also assisting with final walkthroughs right before close. So when it comes to being in the field, Ty is really going to be your guy. Next up, we have our marketing division. So we have Paige Jones and Casey Jones. Paige really handles all of the social media that we do as a team, our graphic design, all of our marketing for our listings, and she helps to coordinate and put together all of our client events, which if you've been to one of those before are a ton of fun. And then Casey is the owner and CEO of Shutter Zone Media. So he handles the photography, the videography, the 360 virtual tours, which is so important to offer to sellers right now due to COVID-19 and what's happening out there, and some of the safety measures that we've had to put in place. And he also shoots our team's marketing and social media videos as well. So that's our team. And then I just also wanted to quickly touch on why the MindRight Realty Group partnered with a brokerage like Keller Williams, right? So we're the world's largest real estate franchise by agent count. We have more than 1,000 offices and 180,000 associates. We are also #1 in units and sales volume in the United States, and we are also the #1 company across all industries for training. Some of our recent accolades that I wanted to share with you, and I'm only going to highlight a few of them because there are many. This year in 2020, Forbes named us the best company for diversity. We also won the Tech 100 Award for 2020 for Command, which is the first ever of its kind technology platform that's being built from end to end, and it's being built by a real estate brokerage and by real estate agents for real estate agents and for the consumer. And we were also named the #1 happiest company to work for in America by Career Bliss. And trust me when I do say we have very happy agents here at Keller Williams. So I wanted to just take a few moments to talk about those things and let you know who we are as a team, a company, and also as a brokerage, because we're always committed to delivering the most relevant and valuable information to you about the local and national market. So to take a little bit of a deeper dive today into that subject, I'm going to actually pass the baton to my husband, Tony, who's here with me today. And he's really going to be talking about the 5 secrets to success for buying and selling during COVID-19. So
thanks, Charisse. Awesome information. Marco, thank you, sir, again, for giving us the opportunity to be on the webinar, and just, again, love the Starr collaboration. And we're going to drop a lot of information in a short period of time, so I'm going to speak very quickly, but if there is anything that you miss or you want more information or clarification, please, feel free to either ask a question in the chat or send us an email to our contact information. So last Tuesday, we talked about the current market conditions that we're experiencing. So I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time on that, but in order to understand the secrets to success for buying and selling in today's market, we at least need to know what's going on with the market. And again, just to reiterate, you can tune in, or I'm sorry, request to watch that webinar that we did on Tuesday that spent an entire amount of time talking about all these stats and facts. But right now, guys, new listings are down significantly, pending sales are down significantly, closed sales are down, days on market is down, which means properties are selling fast, and median and average sales price are up. And what this really is telling us is that we have a challenge with a lack of inventory. We still have a huge buyer demand, and that is creating an increase in the average sale price of homes. So now we're going to talk about, what does that mean? Well, although the uncertainty of the crisis means forecasts of economic activity are more unclear than usual, we do expect that most of the economic damage from the virus will be contained in the first half of the year. Going forward, we should see a recovery starting in the second half of 2020. And that is from the chief economist of Freddie Mac. So we are seeing an incredibly strong real estate market, both on the seller side and on the buyer side. There's advantages for everyone to capitalize on, and I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about that. So one of the first questions we get from our sellers is, should I sell now or sell later? And typically what they're asking is, how do I time the market perfectly to make the most amount of money? And unfortunately, no one has a crystal ball, right? It's like timing the stock market. It's impossible to nail it down perfectly unless you are supernatural or a genius. I am neither of which. What I can tell you is that it all depends on your unique situation, motivation, as well as your short-term and long-term goals, right? There is a big difference between needing to sell a home, wanting to sell a home, and kind of wanting to sell your home. Strictly based on current home values and interest rates for your next potential purchase, now may be the best time to sell and yield the highest net profit. The real question that we ask ourselves and our clients is whether now is the best time to buy your next home. And that's directly from Tony Giangreco, Vice President of Awesomeness for the Mind Right Realty Group. He's a pretty sharp guy from what I hear. All right, so projected home price appreciation going forward, and this at least helps people know, listen, if you decide not to sell in 2020, there's a very good chance that the market conditions are going to stay consistent, and we will see a steady maintain or even appreciation in 2021. Now, again, no crystal ball, anything is possible. Property values could adjust. There could be a shift in the market, and we could see it start to flip-flop. But right now, all of the major financial gurus and economists are projecting that home values are going to stay pretty consistent. So it really becomes the question of, why do you want to sell your home, right? But then the question becomes, well, should I buy now or buy later? Well, it all depends on your unique situation, financial stability, motivation, as well as your short-term and long-term goals. There's a big difference between needing to buy a home, wanting to buy a home, and kind of wanting to buy a home. It's always a great time to start building equity in real estate, and current historically low interest rates are balancing out the increase in property values for many buyers. The question is whether you will have the patience and implement the necessary strategies to purchase in this market. Again, Tony Giangreco, president of All Things Amazing Minor Realty Group. So here's what I want to elaborate on for people that want to try and time the market from a purchasing standpoint and say, well, Tony, if I wait, right? If I wait, property values may go down. If we shift to a balanced or a buyer's market, I'm not going to be paying these inflated or appreciated prices. That is an accurate statement. But what you need to look at is what happens if home prices do decrease in the future, but interest rates increase simultaneously. And typically you will see that type of correlation. You know, prices aren't going to drop by, 5, 10, 20% and interest rates remain the same. So right now, if someone locks in a 3% interest rate for a $200,000 mortgage, their monthly payments for principal interest is like $843. Now, let's say a year from now, 2 years from now, the market adjusts and they can buy that same home for a $190,000 mortgage. But the interest rate went up from 3% to 4%. Their mortgage is actually higher at $907, even though they paid $10,000 less for the property. Same thing if we look at, a year, 2 years down the road, we have some sort of major shift, it becomes a buyer's market. You get that same property for $20,000 less than right now, but your interest rate has gone from 3 to 4 to 5% interest. You're paying significantly more per month, even though you purchased the property for $20,000 less. So for those buyers out there that want to wait out the market right now, based on the interest rates, it's still an incredible time to buy and start building that equity. So here are the universal changes we're seeing across buyers and sellers, right? Number one, coronavirus, COVID-19, serious crisis we're facing. We are all seeing and implementing enhanced safety precautions for buyers and sellers, including gloves, masks, shoe covers, hand sanitizer, antibacterial wipes, limiting total number of persons at properties, whether you are listing the property or you're the buyer agent showing the property, as well as no open houses and no multiple, spelled incorrectly, my apologies, no multiple showings. Even though they have allowed now for open houses to begin, the Mindart Realty Group is not ready nor comfortable without having some form of internal procedure and processes to ensure safety. So we're still not doing on-site open houses, although we are doing virtual open houses. And that's the other big universal change we're seeing right now for buyers and sellers. Virtual solutions across the board, including virtual consultations, electronic signatures, electronic earnest money, enhanced media and 360 virtual tours, virtual open houses, and virtual showing options. We're seeing buyers right now, ladies and gentlemen, that are actually comfortable submitting offers on properties that they have never physically been on site. We've actually had several transactions like that ourselves. So 5 secrets for buyers. Number one, let's talk about it. Here we go. Diving in deep. Buckle in. Master your mindset. If you walk into your purchase, process with the mindset that there's no properties out there, it's too competitive, I'm going to overpay for the property, I'm not going to find what I'm looking for, well, that's exactly the intention you're setting, and that's what you're going to attract into your world. Now, if you set positive intentions and set realistic expectations, yeah, it may take a little bit longer. Yeah, you might have to kiss a few frogs to find that prince, but if you trust the process and get ready to move fast, you will find your new home. We make sure of that as a team. But it's important to choose the best buyer agent in this process. So here's some questions if you're interviewing multiple agents. I'm not going to run through them all, but a few. Find out what percentage of this realtor's clients are buyers versus sellers, right? What's their strategic plan? What safety precautions are they taking? Here's some of the most important questions. How are you helping your buyers win in multiple offer situations? And how are you negotiating during that home inspection process? Those are two very big areas that we pride ourselves on, and one of the reasons why we're having stunning success in helping our buyers find their properties in record time and not, spending an arm and a leg. Secret number 3, the power of your pre-approval. So you need to have an up-to-date pre-approval right now. There are many sellers and listing agents that won't even allow you to view a property without having an up-to-date pre-approval verifying that you could qualify for financing if you wanted to submit an offer to purchase. We recommend having a pre-approval that's at your highest and best. What that means is if you're pre-approved for $300,000, then get a pre-approval for $300,000. That doesn't mean you need to spend $300,000, but if you submit an offer on a property at $250,000 and that seller sees that you were pre-approved for $300,000, it increases and solidifies their confidence in your financial stability, and it's going to make you a little more attractive than, say, the competing offer. We recommend using local lenders, guys. You need people who can get on the phone nights, weekends, or in emergency situations if necessary and understand the local market as well as how to navigate through COVID-19 and what's happening in their process. Use innovative and creative lenders. You need people who can think outside the box and solve problems fastly when they arise. These are all really important things to understand when you're looking at the power of your pre-approval. The proper preparation is key. Identify deal breakers and must-haves before you start looking at properties. Get a very clear vision of what you're looking for so that you can identify the best properties. Create a love letter. Hi, this is Tony and Charisse. We've been searching for a property for the last 3 months and fell in love with yours as soon as we walked in the door. This is perfect for our daughter Paige and our 2 little Yorkies. Some people even include a picture of their family. It can create an emotional connection versus just being another name on paper. Also, identify availability and your schedule so your realtor knows how quickly they can get you into the property. And if you're a couple, develop a divide and conquer plan. If one of you needs to go look at the property, and the other one has to stay home, what does that look like with virtual solutions and putting people on video? Also establish risk tolerance, know where you're comfortable with and where you're willing to stretch. The 5th and final secret for buyers, getting creative with contingencies. Okay, purchase price and earnest money. What are you willing to pay and what do you have readily available for earnest money? Closing and rent back options. Are you willing to give that seller the ability to close and continue to live in the property for a week, 2 weeks, an entire month? That could make your offer more attractive than a buyer who wants them to close and move out immediately. Home inspections and appraisals. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to remove your home inspection. You don't have to remove your appraisal, but there are creative ways to sweeten that area. For instance, maybe you don't want to remove your home inspection, but you're willing to guarantee up to $3,000 worth of repairs or remedies for defects or safety issues found you'll be responsible for. You don't have to remove your appraisal, but what if you say, hey, I'm not going to remove my appraisal, but I'd be willing to bring an extra $5,000 cash to close if the property does not appraise, right? So there's creative ways to customize and adjust these contingencies without removing them. And that's really understanding, again, your risk analysis, your risk tolerance and benefit. So I'm going to go through this very fast, guys. 5 secrets for sellers. Number 1, setting proper expectations. Not every property sells in 24 hours. Not every property sells for $1 million. Not every home is worth what you think as a seller or what Zillow says it's worth or what your neighbor told you that he thinks his best friend's neighbor's dog sitter could sell it for, right? So setting proper expectations that, not every property is selling overnight. As a matter of fact, the MLS, Metro Milwaukee MLS average right now is 43 days on the market. 43 days on the market, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the Mind Right Realty Group, our average days on the market until sold is 3 days. So you can see that how a local expert, a real estate team handles the listing can really determine whether that property is going to sell quickly or whether it's going to sit and accumulate days on the market. The average list price to sold price ratio across Metro MLS is about 97%. Okay, 97%. The MindRight Realty Group's average list price to sold price ratio is 104%. So again, not all realtors or real estate teams are created equal. You can tell by the stats that are being provided through the Metro MLS. Number two, as you can see, I was transitioning, setting it up, foreshadowing, choosing the best listing agent, right? What's their strategic plan? What are their safety precautions? How do they prep and market your property? What virtual solutions are they providing? What's the average days on the market, average list price to sold price ratio? These are all questions. If you're interviewing multiple listing agents, these are questions you have to ask if you're going to be a savvy consumer. Proper pricing strategy. Using real comparables, guys, apples to apples. If your property hasn't been updated since 1985 and it's only 1,200 square feet and your neighbor's property was built in 1995 and they just redid a $60,000 kitchen and it's an additional 800 square feet, that's not apples to apples, right? True comparable properties where we interpret the data, we manually adjust for each home, and we price ahead of the market. We price where the market is going, not where it is or where it's been. If you price too high, you sit and wait and end up getting less than what you would have gotten. If you price too low, you short yourself potential profit. So finding that sweet spot and enjoying the ride is what it's all about when you properly price a property. Hour of preparation, again, identifying any defects or safety issues in the home. If there's something going on that may be called out in a home inspection, we want to get on top of that right away. We also want to help you explore any cosmetic or aesthetic improvements. We coordinate all contractors and professionals. Declutter, consolidate, deep clean, name of the game. We have a certified staging specialist. Also, apparently, she is the CEO of Swag, Ms. Charisse Giangreco, to assist with style and staging. Also, making sure we have safety supplies and virtual solutions. And last but not least, the fifth secret, and this is something that a lot of realtors, unfortunately, I love my profession, I love my industry, I love my partners out there, but this is going out to all the other realtors. We need to treat every property as if we are not in a seller's market. There are far too many realtors right now because it is a hot market and because properties are selling fast. They are not really focused on media and marketing, and it's providing a disservice. So mastering media and marketing, providing professional staging, professional photography, aerial photos, drone video, interior, cinematic video if necessary. Every property, we don't care whether it's a $100,000 property or a $1.5 million property, every property gets the virtual 360 tour, virtual staging, highlighting those property updates and making sure that you're syndicating to all real estate websites, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Redfin, MindRight Realty Group. We syndicate to over 300 groups, websites. And in addition to that, we have custom social media marketing campaigns where we boost and promote and run ads. And of course, having a strong virtual presence on Facebook and social media for open houses and a lot of Facebook Live videos. So guys, again, I know I cruised to that very, very quickly. It was a lot of information in a short period of time. If you have questions or concerns or want more information, that's what we're here to do. We're here to help, and I'm going to open it right now for any Q&A. If we have any additional questions right out the gate, I'm going to turn it over to Marco and Rachel.
Hey, Tony, thank you for doing that. That's something that we see on a regular basis when especially working with other realtors as well as you and your team is you guys have been ahead of this for not months, but years. And it is clear to see the kinds of agents that are kind of stumbling on how to make offers and promote listings as we're going through this. And you guys, it was just another day in the park. You guys have been doing video tours and just again promoting the locations as well as keeping your clients safe without missing a beat. That spoke volumes because I've heard it from many people time and time again how painless and smooth and how comfortable and safe they felt, whether they were buying or they were actually listing their properties.
Thank you. That means that means a lot to us, Marco, because that's really, you know, our mission, our reason why is to change people's lives and to make a positive impact in their lives. It just so happens we do it through real estate. So getting that feedback means more to us than you could ever imagine. So thank you, my friend.
So Rachel, do we have any questions? I know you were monitoring that.
Yeah, we got a couple questions submitted earlier. So I have one here. It says, I have heard of the term house hacking in the past. What are some of the pros and cons of it?
Ooh, man, Marco,
That's
can
like
we?
that's another
Can we
webinar.
do a whole
Love
webinar on
yeah.
house hacking? Because I
All right.
love it.
Let's take a break. Let's start another one.
Okay, in summary, just real quick, I'll do the best I can to keep it. House hacking is a really great strategy, especially for first-time home buyers, whereas you are purchasing a property that you are going to utilize either bedrooms or units, if it's a duplex or multi-unit, to rent out and utilize that rental income to supplement and pay a majority, if not all, of the mortgage while you're building equity in the property. So for example, if I'm a first-time home buyer, instead of buying a single-family home, my first purchase, I can do like an FHA financing or even conventional, somewhere between 3.5% to 5% down, right, on a duplex. Well, actually, FHA 3.5% down would be great on a duplex. Rent out one side that pays the majority of my mortgage, save up all my money, build up equity, do some basic renovations, and then a year later, do a cash out refi and buy another property and live in it and rent it out. And so that's what people are doing. They're house hacking by purchasing properties they're going to own or occupy with little money down, using the supplemental rental income to pay the mortgage and building equity in each of those properties. Whereas you do that for 3 to 5 years, eventually you can buy your forever home, and it's either paid for every month by your residual and leveraged income, or you can tap into the equity, maybe even buy it outright in cash. So that's house hacking. It's brilliant, and I recommend everyone do it. Yeah.
Awesome. So we got the next question here. What is the break-even margin you recommend when looking at buying an investment property? Let's say I'm looking to rent out a unit for $1,000. What should be my total expenses, including loan, insurance, taxes, maintenance, etc.?
Again, we can do a whole webinar on that. That's another great question. So everyone's a little bit different. It depends on, in my opinion, it depends on the short-term or long-term goal of that investment property, because there's different ways you can look at whether it's a solid investment property. You can look strictly at cash flow, which means at the end of every month or at the end of every year, what is your gross and or net profit? And some people say, like, that's all I care about. I want to have a minimum cash flow of $500 per month after all expenses, which is a very, that's a reasonable and good cash flow. Other people care less about the cash flow, and they care about what's called the capitalization rate, which is a formula that kind of helps you determine whether it's going to be a great long-term investment property and whether you're going to yield a good equity return on it, right? So you may have lower cash flow, but if you can buy a property that already has $30,000 in equity, you may care less about the cash flow and more about the fact you just put $30,000 in equity in your asset column. So it's really, that's more of like a customized consultative question. So anyone out there looking for more information on acquiring investment properties would love to sit down and learn more about their goals and kind of map it out for them.
All right, our next question is, how can I sell my house for the most money?
So, again, as we mentioned earlier today, we don't have a crystal ball, right? So we never know as a seller when you are selling at peak. It's impossible to time that with the market. But we do study the market, and we do ensure that, we're advising as best as we can in terms of helping a seller net the most amount of money. One of the simplest, and it almost sounds like so simple that how could it be true? But it really is one of the simplest things that you could do as a seller, and it's my first recommendation when we go into homes that are asking for advice when getting ready to list, deep clean and declutter. Honest to God, it's the simplest thing. You want to deep clean and you want to declutter the house. And then after that, if there's any staging and styling that needs to happen, we're going to highly recommend bringing in staging and styling. But, really, guys, it's as simple as deep cleaning, decluttering. If there's any light cosmetic repairs and or updates that you're willing and wanting to do based on a budget that you have put together prior to selling your home, we would always want to go through that budget with you as well and take a look at where we can allocate that money that's going to yield you the best return when netting at the end of the day when you're closing. But we always want to start with deep cleaning and decluttering. We want to go down the list of any, improvements that you can make and what that ROI is going to look like for you when you're selling. And then we also want to bring in any type of styling or staging. And of course, that photography, videography, media piece is really going to make everything that we did shine. And really, that is the first impression when you're marketing your property. What we've done on that back end, and we couple that with what we do on the end with the media, and then we put that out there. That's really going to be the first impression to make your house shine and really drive that initial foot traffic in to the property to build it into those multiple competing offers to get you the highest net when it comes to selling your house. Was there anything you wanted to really add to that?
No, slam dunk. I mean, if you just really simplify it, it's prepping the property, it's pricing the property accordingly, it's marketing the property so that people look at it like, I can't believe this property is priced like this, because we market every property like $1 million property. And then, like Charisse said, that gives you the traffic of a ton of motivated buyers coming through. And as you guys know, when you see just buyer after buyer after buyer going through a property, that's when you get multiple offers and you get competing offers and offers that are 5, 10, 15, 25,000 above the asking price.
All right, next is, should I find my new home first or list for sale first?
It's also great.
Man, good one. So it depends on the individual. It really does, because there's some people that are more comfortable with temporary housing solutions than others. So we've had some individuals say, listen, I know it may take me 3 months, 6 months to find my next home, but I don't want to miss out on this hot market. I want to get my property listed and sold while the market is hot, and we know that values are at all-time highs. So those people they're fine with listing their property for sale while they're looking for a home, and most of them will sell prior to finding their new place. And they either rent temporarily, or they stay with family, or they house hack, right? They find a duplex and they buy a duplex and rent out for a year. Other people, they're not comfortable with that.
Yeah, and just something I wanted to add to what Tony just said. A lot of times too, why a seller chooses to sell the current home and find temporary housing in order to find the next forever home. Well, one, when you don't have a home sale contingency, when you're buying that new house, it strengthens your offer. If there's 5 competing offers on that house and yours happens to have a contingency on it, chances are they're going to go with the stronger, and it's unfortunate to say that, but chances are they're going to go with the stronger offer that doesn't have the home sale contingency on it. And the other thing is too is this is another big decision that somebody's making, and they don't want to have to feel like pressured or rushed in order to choose that next home. Like, some people just prefer to take their time with it. Now that we've closed on the previous property and we've got some temporary housing, I can breathe a little bit and not feel like I'm rushed to make a decision on the next purchase, because typically, ideally, if they're selling one and they're going to the other, they're typically looking to get into that forever home as the next step, right? Maybe they're selling that starter home and they want to go to that forever home, and so that's why they want to be able to make the right choice without feeling pressured.
All right, and
Good
then
questions, man.
Question from Marco: if cars are getting smarter to avoid crashes now more than in the past, why is insurance getting more expensive?
Ooh, that's a good
Great.
one, man.
Yeah.
Straight shot to the heart. No, I get that. A lot of times yes, a lot of cars are getting a lot smarter. I know, for example, like my previous car was what I call a dumb car. It didn't have any of those technologies. But now, as cars get a lot of that already coming standard or as options, there are a couple of things that come into play. One, on the physical aspect of the car itself, when there's any damage done to it, it's a lot more expensive to fix what's damaged. For example, let's look at just the windshield. Maybe 10 years ago, a brand new windshield was maybe 500 bucks. Now, because windshields are made with more durable, more sturdier glass, they're a lot more expensive to replace, just the windshield alone, okay? Then a lot of cars, again, all of those sensors tend to be, for example, behind the glass itself, where when you get a glass replaced, you now have to recalibrate everything that's behind that glass. Also, because all those systems are proprietary to that manufacturer, less and less auto body shops can just replace the glass, so prices go higher because the supply to replace those are a lot smaller. A lot of times now you have to go to the car dealership when before you could take it to, Bob's Body Shop. So that's on one part. There's a lot more complexity when fixing the cars. Then you're also looking at the accidents themselves, where we're seeing a lot. Just thinking alone the medical costs. And so, for example, in Wisconsin, when you are in a car crash, you are responsible for that person's medical payments, funeral expenses, lost wages, and lost support. That's usually what we think about. Also, you're also responsible for the loss of companionship, which is a whole separate bucket altogether. But let's just look at the medical cost. In the past 5 years, it has skyrocketed how expensive just medical insurance or just going to the doctor has gotten. All of those things drive rates higher. Then and it's a whole different webinar that we can talk about, is when we're looking at, for example, autos like Teslas or autos that are more automated, where they don't need the driver to drive the car. Insurance companies are now seeing a reduction in the market, especially in not only today, but in the foreseeable couple of years. So they need to make sure that they are adjusting their rates to account that decrease of spreading claims across a smaller pool of drivers, and they're having to adjust those rates to make sure that they have adequate funds to pay out for those claims when we need to pay out for those claims. So really good question on that.
Yeah, that just made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
So I mean, for us, and we see that on all the time. I mean, given our size, we're one of the largest firms in the entire state, so we can cherry pick whoever is the best option for our clients. And if we ever see an increase for whatever reason, it could be, I got in a car crash and that's why my rates are going up, or again, I got a speeding ticket. I have a lot of experience in both. That's why it's going up. We are constantly shopping our clients' policies to make sure that wherever they are, they're in the best environment, regardless of whatever company it is. But in broad strokes, that is why rates are going up for everyone. Even if you are a perfect driver, you don't get any speeding tickets, you don't get any accidents. That's why what we're seeing in the industry as a whole.
Great info.
Awesome.
Any other questions there, Rachel?
Nope, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you Tony and Charisse for joining us here and teaching us about, again, having the right mindset, showing our homes, buying homes, especially as we are in a very, very competitive market, and then you throw COVID-19 into it all. I think our clients will see a lot of value in everything that you taught us today.
Awesome.
Well, thank you again for having us, Marco and Rachel and the Starr group. You guys are amazing, and I hope we can hug each other soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.